task force, and she has charged us with finding ways to engage more retirees and to share the resources that the university has with retirees, especially people who are moving to Lawrence in their retirement, but community members as well. And one of the issues that came up was auditing classes. And this is actually a Board of Regents policy, that any person who is over 60 years of age, if any of you meet that category, you can audit a class for free with the university. The problem has been is that the university has set up a bureaucracy that you've got to overcome to get into the class, because you got to get the permission of the instructor, and then you got to do. So one of the things we're doing right now, and we're going to announce this in the next few weeks, is a streamlined version of how seniors can take classes, audit classes for free on the university campus with just a phone call. Right now, you got to get permissions and some other things, and you got to go through the registration staff, and we're going to change that to make it so that it is easier. And now there will be some courses that will be closed because they're science courses or they're lab courses, or there's some restrictions on who could be in the classes. But for the most part, your humanities classes, your liberal arts classes, those will all be open to they're open now. It's just hard to get into it. It's like you get tired of the paperwork before the class starts. So we're trying to streamline that process so that you can take that. It's going to be a great opportunity.
I would like to think that anyone that ever graduated from the University of Kansas has become a lifelong learner anyway.
Yep.
And we have the skills in our bodies and our mindsets to do the work even and complete the course, not missing classes. And
Sure.
I did that with these two classes, and it was wonderful. I just
Sure.
had a very rich time. And I kind of kept one professor on his toes because he had a particular economic philosophy that didn't always fly in reality, and I kept him thinking.
And that's a good point too. One of the things about our Osher classes is, for those of you who have taken, can probably attest to this, that they're very interactive. You know, I always warn new instructors that you don't want to, if you may have a class for 6 hours, but you don't want to prepare 6 hours worth of content, because you're never going to get through it all. Because everybody's got, people who are coming to the classes are bringing, 60, 70 years worth of life experience into this class and wants to contribute to it. And so our classes are very interactive, and our best instructors are the ones that evoke those kind of reactions and then help follow the class, to let the class help direct where the class is going to go. And so it's a very popular idea. And I think you're right about lifelong learning. One of the things that the Osher Foundation has done studies on is that, why do Osher people take the classes they take? And one of the things they've discovered is that people who may have been accountants, gone through school in business, never got to take some of those fun liberal arts college classes. Or if they were in law, they never got to take those science classes. So now, people, as they do their lifelong learning, they're taking all those classes or topics that they never had the chance to take before. They kind of fill in the gaps in their education. So that's, you're absolutely right about the lifelong learning opportunities.
I've taught a couple classes out there. One of the real joys is that because there are so many incredibly interesting people with lots of experiences, that they end up doing as much teaching as I did, because they bring information that I never heard. Their dialogue and interaction with each other constitutes a very powerful learning educational experience in and of itself.
I agree, because again,
dynamic.
there's so many perspectives coming into the class. All of our instructors, and you could probably attest to this too, are used to teaching undergraduates. And they don't get that same kind of feedback in their undergraduate classes. Nobody's in the back of the class texting somebody else, or reading their emails, or reading the newspaper, or sleeping, although we do have some people sleep now and then. But that's okay. That's okay.
Get their naps.
Yes, at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, that's a good time for that. So any other questions or comments? Anybody know anybody that should be an instructor for the Osher Institute?
Oh.
We're always looking for new instructors.
How do you do that?
If you want to be an instructor, contact me.
Okay.
Okay, you can look in the catalog. Inside on the front page, inside front cover, you'll see my smiling face there. And there's a phone number at the bottom. You just call that phone number. And if you have somebody that you want to have, that you think would be a good Osher instructor, please contact me. Or if you want to teach for us. Or you can go on our website, and there's a contact Osher link there, and you can email me through that link as well.
The chief feel the pay is real poor.
We do pay our instructors. We pay our instructors $75 a content hour. So in other words, if you teach a 6-hour course, we'll pay you $450 to teach that course. So it is, you don't do it for free. Yes, sir.
Does this local group, or this group administer, does it get funding from the gentleman in San Francisco?
That's a good question. When we first started our Osher Institute, the foundation gave KU, Continuing Education, $100,000 to help underwrite the beginning to launch the program. And then for the next 2 years, they gave us $50,000 each year, again, to help underwrite the program, to pay the instructors and get the program launched. Then in 2007, when we reached 500 members, they gave us a $1 million endowed grant.
Oh, my goodness.
That now sits in the endowment. Of course, it went underwater right away, in 2008, but it's better now, and so it sits in the endowment, and we get the interest off of that.
Wow.
We are now at a position where we have reached another threshold. When we hit 3,000, which we will hit this year, we can apply for a second $1 million endowed grant, which we will do this summer. And so I'm hoping, keeping our fingers crossed, that we'll get that by the fall. We'll have that, and that will go in the endowment, and we'll get the interest off of that.
So it's self-supporting now.
It's not quite self-supporting. We're getting there, though. We're funded in 4 different ways. We get money from the foundation, the money that's coming off of those endowed grants. We get money from the registration fees, the $40 that are paid to take the classes. We get funding from the contracts we have with the residential communities, like Brandon Woods. Presbyterian Manor is going to start taking classes, doing classes in the summer. Brewster Place, Aldersgate Village, McBride Plaza, all of those retirement communities who redo classes, they pay us to come onto their sites to do those classes. So we get funding from them. We get funding from donations from our friends of Osher. We did a fundraising campaign this last fall, and I thought, which was very successful. Our goal was to make $15,000, and we have exceeded $20,000 in the goal. So that helps, gives us some funding. And then we get funding from the university. Part of the agreement between the Osher Foundation and the University of Kansas is that they have to provide classroom space, they have to provide office space for us, support, marketing support, registration support, business office kind of support, and they have to, and they give us some money besides that. So they pay some salaries, they give us office space, and they give us support.
Can you tell a little bit of the story of how the attempt to move Osher over to the Edwards campus ran into a little trouble in terms of the...
Yes.
Tell that story.
I'm sure, maybe I didn't mean as much to you as it did to us, but last November, the university announced that they were going to move continuing education, the whole unit, over to the Edwards campus, out of the building here in Lawrence. Now, what a lot of people understand is, under that umbrella of continuing education,
Well, it's huge.
it's huge. The Osher Institute is only one unit within that. Also within that unit is the Kansas Law Enforcement Training Center, the unit that trains all the law enforcement people in the state, more than 400 full-time policemen a year. The Kansas Fire and Rescue Training that trains all the firefighters in the state. There we have professional and academic programs, conferences, aerospace engineering, and the oceans. So the idea was to move continuing education to the Edwards campus, because then the professional and workforce development programs would be closer to the populations and the businesses that they support, which makes some sense. But they didn't realize that if they decide just move everybody, well, they couldn't, because the Osher Institute we have 1,200 people that take classes in our building every year. Now, those 1,200 people, I can tell you, are not going to go to the Edwards campus to take classes. And I don't think they even thought that much. I think they, in all fairness, I think they thought, well, it's workforce development. We're going to get this workforce development stuff out there without drilling down to see who else was involved. So I'm happy to say that they have now decided that the Osher Institute not only is going to stay in the building that we're in, but our offices are going to stay there as well. So I don't have to commute to the Edwards campus every day, like some of my colleagues will. Right, so
Was there a lot of public...
there was, not so much but for the Osher, yeah, there was a lot of pushback from our Osher folks,
Right.
to the university. I know the provost got a few phone calls,
Oh,
and a few
yeah.
emails. And then, God bless the Journal World, did a great editorial on, about keeping the Osher Institute in Lawrence.
Yeah, you mentioned 3,000 members. Are you a member once you take a class, or how do you figure membership?
Good question. When you take your first class in a year, then you become a member for that year, for that calendar year. I'm sorry, for that fiscal year. So if you sign up to take class in the fall of this year, then you're a member until the fall of next year. And we can contribute. The first $15 of your first registration is your membership fee. It's embedded in that course fee. And so you're automatically a member. You don't have to pay any more additional dues or anything like that. Any other questions?
So you can put Friends of Osher,
Yes.
that's different than membership, isn't it?
Right, the Friends of Osher are just donations. We have a lot of folks, you know, if you look through this and you see in the middle of the catalog, you'll see a registration form. That's a way that you can register for classes and mail that form in. And there is a spot on the back, on the second side of that form that allows you to donate, just make a donation. And we probably have, I'd say between 300 and 400 individual donors a year that add on to their registration fees and add another $50 or $100 that we can use then. We also offer scholarships for people who may have trouble, you know, affording to take the classes. So if they just contact me, then we can help underwrite their cost to take the classes through the donations that we get from our Friends of Osher.
Jim?
As you have had increased monetary contributions, I'm thinking, you said earlier, you've just recently received, how much more, 2 million, or
We
for
haven't
the
received it.
endowment fund, is it?
We haven't received it. We have, they gave us 7 benchmarks that we had to meet.
Oh.
Membership, fundraising, volunteers, programming, and we've now met them all. Now we have the right to apply for a second endowed grant. We haven't
And
gotten
then,
it yet.
as you apply, do you have to say what additional goals you'll have or objectives?
Well, we have, those are already set. Our goal, our mission at KU Continuing Education and the Osher Institute is, right now, we are in, you know, these 17 cities, but these 17 cities are basically from Manhattan down to Hutchinson, and then up into northeast Kansas, Topeka, Lawrence, Ottawa, Kansas City. My goal as director and as the university outreach officer is to have the Osher Institute in every corner of the state, in every community college, and partnering and putting these kind of classes available for people, seniors in every corner. So we have a lot of work to do on that. So, so
as
much
part-
of,
As part of
we
the
are still,
problem,
we are still not self-sufficient. We are still underwritten by the university more than we should be, more than I think. So we're trying to narrow that gap so that we can get that down to where we are self-sufficient.
it's part of the problem that you may not have enough outstanding teachers to go and teach in these distant corners of our
But you know,
state.
the thing is, what we've learned is that there are great teachers out there as well. Teachers at K-State, believe it or not, they have good teachers at K-State.
Well, but will they allow a KU professor to come and teach them something?
And they do, and they do. Actually, we have a great
There's a
working
few things
relationship.
we would like to teach.
Yes, and I tell you, we are the rare exception of competition between the two universities. We are great partners. They do most of the legwork for us out there, and they do a great job in recruiting instructors and marketing the program to the community. So we're going to do that same model. I'm going out to Fort Hays, to Fort Hays State University. We're going to open that center in the fall. So we'll have classes out there, and we'll recruit among the Fort Hays State faculty to teach courses. So we really don't have a whole lot of trouble recruiting instructors because there are so many good instructors around. It's a question of them fitting their schedule with our schedule at the time we need to have them. So that's always a little bit of a challenge. We'll be doing that in the next month as we get our summer schedule set, trying to find the right pigeonhole to put an instructor in and what site they're going to teach in.
And this is what keeps you jumping,
This
right?
is what keeps me jumping, that's right. That's right. Did I see something, another hand out there someplace? Oh, yes, Mr. Attorney.
We have attended classes in 2 other locations, one in Topeka and one in Johnson County. And I just wanted to say we've been welcomed. I don't know what percentage of people from outside the retirement community come in for these classes. But we have certainly been welcomed, and it's easy to do that.
Well, thank you. It's a good, you raised a good point. We're at, and you may know these facilities, you may not, Lakeview Village in Lenexa, Aberdeen Village in Olathe, Tallgrass Creek in Overland Park, Mission Square in Mission, Claridge Court in Prairie Village. I think those are most of the ones in Johnson County. And part of our agreement with them is if we come on your campus and teach your residents a class, you have to open that class up to the public. And they want to do that because they want the public to come in and see how nice their facilities are. And so in most cases, it's about a 60-40 split. 60% of the people who attend the classes are residents of those communities, and 40% are people who come in from the outside to take the classes. We're doing a class right now, Barry Crawford, who teaches at Washburn, who does our Lost Gospels of the Bible, and he's a religious studies professor. He's teaching a class at Tallgrass right now. He's got 102 people in the class. Wow. Because he's very popular, and they just have a large facility there.
Do you cross over into Missouri at all?
We do. Our franchise is all of Kansas and the greater Kansas City area. So we're doing classes in Kansas City. We do classes at the Nelson Atkins, at the museum. We do classes there. We do classes at Briarcliff, which is just north of the city, north of the river, in Kansas City. And there's also a Bishop Spencer Place, which is a residential community. They're looking to have classes for Osher as well. Any other questions? Well, I hope, one more thing. I do want to again, direct your attention to the back of the catalog where our special events are. Just to kind of let you know the kind of things we're doing. On page 25, we've already finished. We are, unfortunately, the day we had the 14-inch snow was the day we were supposed to go to the Nelson Atkins for the French Impressionist exhibit. So we had to cancel that because that was the last week of the exhibit and we couldn't reschedule that. We did just finish. We went last Friday to see the Guard Blue. If you have not been over right down here to the Spencer Museum to see that, you should see that. It is very much worth seeing that installation art that James Terrell has done. It's a very interesting work. As I mentioned, Ashley's concert is going to be at the Edwards campus a week from Sunday. And then the following page, on that next Wednesday night, and KU is not playing that night, I promise you, Kelly Hunt is doing a concert for us at the Theater Lawrence. We're taking a bus trip up to Fort Leavenworth. Unfortunately, for you, that bus trip is full. But we're going to reschedule another one in the spring or in the summer because we had so many people wanting to get on that tour, but we don't have one. Karen Goldberg is a past poet laureate for Kansas. She's just written a new book called Needle in the Bone, and it is the relationship between two former KU professors, both Holocaust survivors. I'm not going to pronounce his name correctly. I know Lou Friedman, I can get that one right, but Jarek Pekelkiewicz was also, they were both Holocaust survivors. They met each other later in life, and she's written a book about their experiences. She's going to be doing a presentation on that at our building on St. Andrews Drive on Tuesday the 25th, and then on Wednesday she's going to be doing another one over at the Edwards campus. And then we're teaming up, a lot of our events we team up with either Theater Lawrence or the University Theater to attend events. We're going to see The Great Gatsby on a Sunday matinee, but we're going to go over on Friday afternoon, and they're going to do a pre-performance presentation to go through the plot of the story, talk about the story, have some of the actors and the director come out and talk to our group, and then we go back on Sunday and see the performance. We do the same. We're going to do the same thing with the University Theater on their production of Over Here, which is kind of a 1940s era show about this USO group, a young sisters singing group that wants to get into the USO. And that's going to be over here at the University Theater. Again, we're going to go on Friday afternoon and have a pre-performance presentation, and then the matinee on Sunday. And then our first tour outside of the state is we're going to go overnight and go down to Bentonville, Arkansas to visit the Crystal Bridges Museum of American Art. That bus trip too is full. We filled that one in about 2 weeks. So it's our first overnight trip. Many of the Osher Institutes do a lot of traveling, including international travel. We haven't gotten into that yet, but we're heading that way. We're hoping to do more of the Rhodes Scholar kind of things that are going on and offer some more opportunities for.
That one you just mentioned is already filled.
That one's already filled. We're going to go again as well. Our bus trips are pretty popular, I have to say. I think you guys have been on our bus trips, haven't you? Did
Have
you?
we?
Yeah, you did. You went
Wait.
did you go to Manhattan to see the
Yes.
Discovery Center?
Yes,
The
we
Flint
went to
Hills
the
Discovery Center?
Center.
I thought so.
I was thinking that we, in the past, have a couple of times gone on our own down to exhibits in Oklahoma and Tulsa. There are a couple of major museums down there, and that would be like the Christie
And
Bridges.
this is our experiment. We're gonna see how this
Yeah.
goes. You know, I'm at bed checks every night, make sure those kids are in their beds in the hotel. They're behaving themselves. So yeah, I think we're gonna do more of that. We've had lots of suggestions on museums and other sites that are within either a short drive or maybe even do some overnight travel. There are several large tour companies that the Osher Foundation has endorsed that we can work with, and so we're gonna start doing that next year. We've got to get through this grant application process first, and then we're gonna go do some travel. Any other questions? Yes, sir.
Yeah, there's a museum of cowboy art in Oklahoma City,
That's one of
Yes.
that is one of the museums that has come up several times.
which is well worth seeing.
Yeah, I think we're like I said, we're gonna see how this goes this spring, and I think we'll be doing a lot more of those traveling. Eleanor?
When do we get to know about the summer schedule?
The summer, you know what? Next week is when I send out a letter to all of our instructors, all 100 and some of them, and ask them, do you want to teach this summer? And if you do, what do you want to teach? When do you want to teach, during the day or at night? What day of the week can you teach? What 3-week period in the semester can you teach? Are you willing to teach in Topeka or Overland Park? And they all respond, and then we take all of those responses and try to fill them into the places we need to put them. And then we publish our schedule. So the summer schedule, even though we're only 2 weeks into the spring schedule, the summer schedule should be ready probably by the first week in April.
We look forward to it.
Well, thank you, thank you. It's always exciting for us too, believe me, when we can finally say, oh, we got it done.
And you're open to our suggestions of particular persons and teachers?
Absolutely, and topics too. So sometimes people say, you know, I would love to have a course on Bernini's a good example. Somebody in Ann Wickland's class last semester said, you know, why won't you teach a course on Bernini? And she says, okay. And so she put the course together on Bernini. So we get a lot of feedback too from, we have a programming group that kind of advises us on new topics. And sometimes people just sit in the class and go, you know, I'd like to know more about this. And so they'll come up with an idea for a class. And we're fortunate enough, because we're connected with the university, that we can find people that can teach those classes, if it fits into their schedule. Anything else? Well, thank you for the opportunity to come and talk with you today.
Thank you.
I appreciate your interest in the Osher Institute. I'd love to see you at some classes. And we have plenty of seats available yet. So, and if you can't make it to the class in the spring and you want to get on our mailing list, you can also just email me or call me, and I'll make sure you get on our mailing list, so you get a catalog for the summer course.